Alrighty, we are in here. We're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome in. I know you guys wanted us to do more of these, and yet here we are. Rick Strom, along with an old friend, an old boxing friend, Britton Harden. Hello, Britton.
What's going on, Rick?
How you doing, pal?
I'm doing great, friend.
Oh, that's just super. All right, so look, we have a awesome fight on our hands that is about to start. As of right now, what was your takeaway from the events that we saw previously from this evening? B, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, what was your takeaway from the events that we saw previously this evening? What do you think?
Okay. So I thought you were talking to the audience. My bad. Obviously, man, I thought that the Venezuela Chris Colbert fight was.
Ooh.
I thought that was a dicey one. I thought that was
Yes,
a bad call on behalf of the ref, on
100%.
on behalf of the
The
judges
judges.
rather. Um, I didn't think that Colbert banked enough rounds for him to warrant winning a unanimous decision. That was extremely surprising to me. It seemed
Yes.
like, he got stunned the first round. He was gathering himself the second round. The third round is where I saw him kind of implementing some kind of strategy, and he got halted. Every
Mm-hmm.
time it seemed like he would build a head of steam and implement some type of strategy, he would run into a big shot. And that was like the fight in microcosm for me.
Yes.
So it was just hard for me to align with the judges. Like if you're judging a amateur fight where the idea is to just score points, then sure. But this is pro boxing, and how I always usually score is who would I have wanted to be walking out of that round. I didn't want to be Colbert walking out of any of those rounds, and
None of
uh,
them. How
and
many how
and
many
the
rounds did you give
those.
him?
I'm sorry.
How many rounds did you give him?
Chris Colbert,
Yes.
I didn't really count, but I couldn't see myself giving him more than three or four. I saw him, especially when he was doing the pressuring, he looked really good. But then, like I said, he would run into a big shot. There was some rounds where he completely just started boxing, and I thought that he looked good there, but I thought he
Yes.
implemented that too late. He started to box maybe like the eighth, ninth, and 10th rounds. You know what I mean? And I didn't think he banked enough rounds early to warrant that victory. So that's my take on that. But it was an exciting fight. It was a great fight, back and forth, and the rematch is going to be all the better for it.
Well, okay. So I tweeted this. If it happens, yeah, it'd be great. If I were Colbert, you know what I would do? Run.
Yeah,
I would run. I would just say, you know what? I was probably gifted a W that I
yeah,
likely didn't get. Do not
yeah.
rematch this guy. If you
Well,
if you if you want to make more money in this sport, as we know, the shelf life is low.
yeah,
He took a lot of punishment in this fight. He's taken punishment throughout his career. If I were him and managing him, I would do anything but go back into a rematch with Valenzuela. I thought Valenzuela won as well. I thought it was a lot closer than some of these guys were making it out to be, but run is what I would say. Run.
yeah. Probably not going to happen though.
No, probably not. All right, we're about to get
No, I don't
started.
know if you noticed, but Kenny Bayless just tried to get Caleb Plant and Benavidez to touch gloves. They would not touch gloves.
No
He
surprise.
grabbed both of them physically to make them touch gloves, and they yanked apart from him.
No
This fight
surprise.
is exciting already.
No surprise because we have seen the bad blood between these two that has been building up. Real quick, who do you got?
Ah, you know what? It's tough. If you making me put a gun in my head, you making me decide. I'm gonna say
That's a
Caleb.
bad saying. I don't like that saying anymore.
Yeah, sorry. If you're
What you?
making me make a decision, I'm gonna decide Caleb.
Okay,
I like his kid.
I think Caleb is gonna bag the early rounds. As we know, he is a quick starter. And then I've followed the blueprint of his career. I don't want to say this, but I know you know where I'm going.
Hmm.
We saw it in the Uzcategui fight. We saw it in the Canelo fight. Can he go a full 12? Can he
Yeah,
close a full 12?
yeah.
I think David hurts him late
Hmm.
when Caleb wears down. I think Caleb's going to bag like 7 rounds easy. It's going to be the last like 3 to 4 where there's trouble, and that's when I think David finishes him.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not a bad call. That's not a bad call at all. I like what Caleb is doing already right now. He's
Tell me.
power boxing, right? And I went back and I looked at his last fight against Anthony Durrell. I
Mm-hmm.
also looked at the fight before that against Canelo. I think where he went wrong with Canelo, he corrected in the fight against Durrell, and that is he gave Canelo way too much respect. He used the perimeter of the ring, and the which caused him to give up a lot of energy because he was constantly on the move. Versus in the Durrell fight, he stayed more to the center and he power boxed
Yeah.
like what he's doing now.
Yeah.
So I think that the longer he can power box, pick and poke at Benavidez, I think that he'll bank those rounds.
Agreed.
And gives him more of a chance to last in those later rounds.
So far, what stuck out to me is the size of the ring. I know that it was discussed a little bit previously on the undercard, but the bigger ring, which is something that Caleb Plant wanted put into this fight. We've talked about this plenty of times as well on our podcast, Outbox. But I think what we've seen is there are obviously two sides. Caleb Plant wanted some stipulations in there. And having a bigger ring would obviously benefit a guy who likes to move a lot more, whereas David Benavidez is just going to have to continue stalking is likely what will happen.
Yeah.
I'd say in the middle rounds, David is throwing, though. You are seeing the force that he has behind a lot of his shots. These check left hooks would devastate anybody. It's landed maybe once or twice on Caleb. Close first round. This is one of those typical rounds where, and towards the end, Caleb just sort of shows his hand and then pulls it back away from David as they go to their corners. This is one of those like 9-9 rounds that we have the luxury of doing because we're not the official scorers, where you sort of indicate that it's close and it could go either way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like the jab to the body early. I like the sharpness by Plant early. And when they did get into a clinch, you saw Benavidez trying to rough him up like he should. He's doing what he's supposed to do. But I also saw some frustration from him early as he was getting backed up.
You said from Benavidez?
Yeah, from Benavidez.
Yeah.
I don't like him showing the frustration already. That's energy, right? And I'm looking at their body language. He started to complain to the referee, Benavidez, that is. Caleb Plant just shrugged his shoulders and kind of backed up and waited for that discussion to take its place. It seems like Caleb is really trying to focus his energy 100% on the action of the fight, and Benavidez is still a little frustrated. So, we'll see. We'll see what the fight turns into, but we definitely have the makings of a great fight here.
I just want to give a shout out to a few people that are watching. Carlos Osorio, Blackjack, Beezer. Thank you guys. I know this is a rarity, but we just wanted to do it. We have a great affinity for the sport. We love talking about it. So we figured, you know what? Screw it. Why not? Let's just go live late on a Saturday and talk about the fight. This is the typical power puncher versus master boxer.
Yeah.
And that's not to necessarily say, I'm sorry?
This is classic boxer versus puncher.
Absolutely. And that's not to say that David Benavidez is not a boxer. He definitely is. But if you're talking about the finesse version of a boxer in comparison to somebody that has one punch knockout power, it is vast differences, and it's what makes it so incredibly unique.
Yeah, this is shaping up to be a really great fight. Plant landing some combinations. They're making some exchanges. A good left check hook by Benavidez. Both of these guys have to stay sharp the entire time.
Absolutely.
Benavidez starting to march down Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant circling back to the ring. A good straight right hand to the body. I mean, it's like it really just depends on the kind of style that you like. Because both of these guys
from a judging standpoint,
because both of these guys are really boxing a tremendous fight. Like they're both implementing what they would want at this point in the fight.
How I see it is Caleb is fantastic. He's upper echelon in the sport. Is his cardio going to hold up?
Mm-hmm.
If he has to continue doing this for 12 rounds, we have seen different variations of this exact fight where you have the bigger guy stalking the smaller guy and the smaller guy wearing down later on in the fight. If he has to continue circling, getting on his horse over and over and over again, it could potentially signal trouble. We have seen guys get out of it, but this is just a lot of movement inside of 2 rounds already.
Yeah, it's a lot of movement. I would like to point out that David Benavidez weighed lower than Caleb Plant at the weigh-in yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Benavidez weighing 166. Plant weighing 167 and a half. So, he did that to prove a point. But yeah, you're right. Letting Benavidez build up a head of steam and walk forward like this. This is more the fight that he's used to, right?
100%.
Building up a head of steam. You let a snowball kind of fall downhill. Eventually that thing's gonna grow and grow and grow into a boulder.
Yeah,
that's what it's looking like the fight is right now, and it's starting to look like more of the Canelo fight where Caleb is utilizing the perimeter of the ring, burning up a lot of energy. I think that he really needs to in this 3rd round. He needs to come out and he needs to gain a little bit of respect. Now, that's not to suggest that he's not boxing a good fight, but I think he needs to hurt him. He needs to, hurt him to the body, hurt him to the head, and say, listen, you can't just walk me down like this. I'm a man too.
So I'm just curious. Beezer said he has Benavidez. AZ is in the house. I'm just curious. Do you have a round? Do you think it goes to a decision? I should pull up I'm not a gambler, but I guess I can pull up the odds. Yeah, I saw Floyd there too. Carlos says 8 rounds for Benavidez until it's over. Blackjack asks, anyone here box? Well, as a matter of fact, Britton Harden did box once upon a time ago until he settled down, and now he is banished from the sport altogether. Is that right?
Something like that.
Yeah. I get it.
But no, you know what, Rick? This fight kind of reminds me of Ward Kovalev, right? Where I remember in the second fight, Ward made a concerted effort in the beginnings of a lot of those rounds, come out, punch Kovalev in the mouth, left hook him to the head, hurt him to the body, because he wanted that man to know, you're not about to just walk me down all night. I'm a man, right? And I think that that's what Caleb is trying to do. It's getting a little chippy here.
Yes, it is.
And I think that that's the right thing for him to do. Tie up when he needs to, get some shots off, frustrate him, but don't stand there for the exchanges.
I got to tell you, round 3 is heating up. Caleb is throwing a ton. David is landing some shots too, I must say. And it's not even that Caleb is staying in there long. He's just getting hit with this left hook that David is throwing over and over and over again. There is something that I noticed David does too when he's coming forward. He'll put his hands to his head as if he's going to do a little peekaboo, and then he'll check a left hook really quickly just to keep Caleb back a little bit. Just a little bit, just to try and deceive him. I give Caleb credit, though. He continues coming forward. He's standing his ground and then getting out when he has to, just to try and stay away from David. But Benavidez is loading up on shots here in round 3.
That's not a good sign. It's not a sign. Yeah, it seems like, Caleb is getting off combinations. David is landing more one-punch power shots.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their style in microcosm, right?
Totally.
We'll see which one lands, which one lasts the duration. But yeah, for me, I feel like both of these guys are doing a lot of what they would like to be doing at this stage in the fight.
Something that I noticed from David that we really haven't seen much of in the first 2 rounds, his jab. Mm-hmm. He's really throwing a left hook a lot. Yeah. He threw a right hook in the second round where he almost fell out of his shoes. He hasn't really jabbed a ton. Yeah. And there was a jab that he landed, I'd say about 45 seconds ago, that really snapped Caleb's head back. Mm-hmm. And that's something that if you were David's corner, you'd like to see a little bit more of. You could swarm Caleb, but it's never not a bad idea to just work off of the jab and just try to get in there.
I agree with you, Rick. I think that if Benavidez starts to jab with Caleb, because everything is off the jab for Caleb.
Yes.
And if you read that, then you want to jab with him. You don't want to hook. You don't always want to straight right. Sometimes you want to jab with the jabber, because if you're Benavidez, you know that you have a stronger jab. Benavidez has like a shotgun jab.
Yes, he does.
And when Caleb is landing the jab, he has to plant his feet to land it, because that's where he's looking to land the rest of those, run those combinations off. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to jab with you instead of anything else. And if he can start to find his range with the jab, that's a bad sign for Caleb Plant.
It seems like, just my estimation, and I'm not scoring. It seems like my estimation, it's 2-1 right now, Caleb, because David hasn't thrown anything that has been a cause for concern. We know about his power. There hasn't been much there. I don't have the audio on right now, so I'm curious what Kenny Bayless just said to Caleb's corner. There was a bit of a disagreement, it seems, between Bayless.
I heard
go for it.
He said, I just cautioned Benavidez about punching in the back of the head, and Breadman said, thank you.
Okay.
So when they get into the clinch, you'll notice, like I said, Benavidez is trying to rough Caleb up, unsettle him, make him uncomfortable. And some of those shots are straying to the back of the head. And that is what Kenny Bayless was addressing.
Mm-hmm. Now, a question from the chat from Blackjack. You hit the bag, Rick? That is true. I do hit the bag. It's called a bean bag. And I got to say, I made my way on that thing over and over in middle school and high school. All right, so we're in round 4. Caleb Plant with the only loss between these two guys, 48 wins between them as well. And it's just another typical start where David is stalking, swarming. Caleb, a lot of movement side to side. And when he gets in close, he grabs for a clinch, which is probably smart. Beezer has a comment for you. He said, Ward was a beast. I wish he stayed for 2 more fights at least, but he made enough money to get out. Yeah, without question. I agree with that.
Yeah, when you have the opportunity to get out of this sport, man, you want to get out. Boxing always wins, right? Like,
yes, 100%.
This is not a sport where you can, afford to stick around longer than your due date. So I'm happy that he got out. I agree with you. We definitely could have saw more of his skill, but I'm happy 100%. He got out when he did. And I just want to say, Rick, I mean, I don't think that we're looking at two different fights here, but I think that Caleb looks really sharp. I think that he's really building offense off of the jab. You know what I mean? And I mean, while Benavidez is walking forward, I don't see him making solid contact the way that the way that Caleb is. Now, listen,
I agree with that.
That could happen further down the stretch.
Right.
100%.
Right.
But it looks to me like Caleb is fighting the kind of fight that he's comfortable with right now.
I agree.
Like more power boxing though.
I agree. He's getting in and getting out, landing combinations at will. All it takes is one shot from David.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the fear. It's that small little speck, that small little droplet of blood in the ocean, and David is the shark.
Mm-hmm.
There was also one moment here in round 4 where Caleb accidentally went low, and it was a sign of sportsmanship where Caleb stuck his hand out, and David didn't react quickly enough, and then he realized he was sticking his hand out, and then David put his hand there, Caleb's hand was back, and then they just smiled at each other. It was a raw moment of authenticity of like, yeah, there was a bit of showmanship here before.
Yeah. But I don't know if you noticed, Benavidez just caught Caleb with a nice check hook that made Caleb have to tie up. And Caleb got some shots off. Now they're dancing. They're being a little cheeky with one another. But
you saw what Caleb did at the end of the round.
Caleb's attention. He's got to be careful about that.
What Caleb did at the end of the round was hilarious. They were talking smack to each other, and then Caleb danced. He danced and like olayed him, like a matador in the bull. Which honestly, that's what it kind of feels like at this point.
Yeah,
through 4 rounds, yeah, go for it.
Caleb just landed the same body shot left hook, upstairs left hook that he landed on Anthony Durrell in that last round. So, he's got some mojo working. Let's see if he can
For sure.
if he can, be more successful.
For sure. All right, we are entering round 5 here. If I were to just, again, I don't know, are you scoring?
I'm not scoring.
Okay, I'm not scoring either. It has the feel of like 3-1, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to just be objective and probably in order to keep it close, even if someone feels like it's 4-0, a judge is going to give David 1 round just to keep it a little bit more competitive. But yeah, something that I noticed Caleb is doing as well is he's keeping his left hand out at times to negate David from coming further forward.
Yeah.
It's almost like a reset.
Well, that's his rangefinder. That's his way of knowing if you get too close, I either need to close, I need to collapse the distance and grab you, or I need to rattle off a jab or a couple of shots and get you off of me. That's his rangefinder. That's his way of keeping Benavidez honest and understanding how close he is to him at all times.
Interesting moment in round 5 as well, where it seems like David was sick of going after Caleb. So he called him into the middle of the ring and then out of nowhere charged at him and put him into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb was able to evade some shots, but there were obviously a lot of heavy shots being thrown.
Yeah. It's a lot of gamesmanship between these two. They don't like one another. That's a good move for Benavidez. Caleb just collapsed the distance. Benavidez didn't accept it. He just turned his body and landed a big left hook on him.
The most intriguing moments for David is when he puts Caleb into a corner. Mm-hmm. That's when it gets really, really, really interesting.
Yeah. And I like the gesture from Caleb, keeping up with the gamesmanship. You didn't hit me. You didn't look anything, look it off into the crowd. I like him. He's trying to get into the head. He's trying to frustrate David. This is all playing into the hands of Caleb Plant, right? Because he's wasting time off of the clock.
True.
Instead of marching him down, instead of trying to punch him, instead of trying to rough him up, David is making the gestures, which is, buying Caleb more time. If he's already winning the rounds, look at him. David's looking up at the clock. How much more time do I have to work here?
I saw that too.
He needs to stay more consistent.
I saw that too. He needs to
stay focused. And Caleb is getting into his head right now.
There's about 15 seconds left in round 5 in another round that Caleb Plant has, it appears, completely bagged. Mm-hmm. So scoring, not scoring, we probably have it 4-1 at this point, and it is getting away from David Benavidez. But again, considering what we know about him, considering the knockout power that we have seen, anything can change on a dime. There could be one dummy and an overhand right or a check left hook that lands that changes the entire complexion of the fight. But so far, there has been a lot of pressure, just not a lot of result.
Yeah, but what we do know is pressure breaks pipes. And, in the Canelo fight, Caleb seemed to be in that fight until he wasn't. In the 11th round, he got caught with a huge left hook that changed the complexion of the fight. That can still happen here. So Caleb also needs to stay honest. He also needs to stay turned on.
Yes.
Keep that rangefinder out there, get his combinations off, and every once in a while, he needs to put something hard on David to make David respect him.
All right, we got a few comments here. First off, Frank Castle, welcome to the stream. We appreciate you. Beezer asks, how do you guys feel about promotions not making the best fights they can because of politics in the sport and not wanting to work with some promoters? How do you feel about promotions not? I mean, it sucks. Like, let's be real about it. Obviously, we want to see the best fight the best. There are many downsides to a company like, I'll take this. There are a lot of downsides to a company like the UFC being, if we're being very honest, an entire monopoly on the sport. But one good thing that they have is the best fighting the best. Now, would I like to see one company have that? No, absolutely not. Unfortunately, this is just what happens because of the money, because of the power of the promotions. Carlos brings up a good point. We finally got Ryan in tank. Yes, but it took so much to get it. Like they had
The
to
body shot by David.
like starve each other in order to reach an agreement and their promotions. I'm happy that we're finally going to get that in like 2 weeks, I believe it is. 3 weeks, 2 weeks. I don't even know what month it is. But yeah, I mean, it's impossible. Let's be real. Blackjack, I'll read your question in between rounds. What have you seen in round 6, Britton?
I think that Caleb is kind of coming off of the rails just a little bit. I saw David land a nice body shot, and I just like his pressure here. It seemed like some of the movement was rushed, and some of the movement from Caleb earlier in this round were to get out of the way and not like I'm in control of this and I'm the matador.
Yep.
It seems like he's getting a little bit more back in control of the round. And we'll see how it ends. But I did like David's activity a little bit earlier in this round.
And he also just landed 2 short left hooks on Caleb right out of the clinch.
Yeah. And that's where I think there's a lot of danger for Caleb. Caleb is collapsing the distance a lot to hold on, gain himself some seconds, and ask for Kenny Bayless to come and break it up. But just like you see now, David's going to get rough with him.
Yes.
Those moments, and he needs to be ready for that. He's going to be ready for that.
So
the other thing that I think that Caleb needs to look out for, and I think that where David might find some success, is he has to punch with Caleb. He can't just look to, kind of shell up and or counter. When Caleb plants his feet to throw, he has to throw with him. And I think that that's where he's going to start to crack Caleb if he does at all.
This is David's best round by far. We saw them warm up in 3. Caleb continued to be on the run in 4 and 5, sticking and moving.
Agreed.
And now 6 has been all Benavidez.
Yeah, and David's smiling at him. He said, I'm getting to you. I'm breaking you down. This is starting to turn into my fight now.
All right, we got a question for you, B. Blackjack says, Yo, Britton, with experience, do still need to range stick in your arm out, or can you just eyeball it?
It really just depends. It depends. Andre Ward was a big user of the outreach rangefinder.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Plant trained a little bit with Ward for the Canelo fight. I think that's where he picked that tactic up. And so, I think it just depends on what you're comfortable with. Some people would like to keep their hands at home. Other people would like to let their opponent know, hey, listen, this weapon is waiting for you. The moment you get close, something's going to happen. And I think that that's more so what that is here for Caleb.
We are starting round 7. If we were to score it, I believe we have David Benavidez with 2 rounds thus far.
Yeah.
Rough scoring. We didn't score the first few. It's more so off of a feel.
And Rick, I want to raise this point. I don't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
But you may have noticed Caleb Plant had the rangefinder. As soon as David walked up to him, he threw and landed an overhand right. That's him trying to get some respect back. And to me, that's him acknowledging that the last round didn't end the way he wanted it to.
Yep, I agree. Finding Stuff says great live. Finding Stuff, thank you very much. Really appreciate the comment, man. And we appreciate everybody watching. We're going to try to do this more often. I mean, 7 is just getting almost as rough as 6. And I think David is probably realizing Caleb can land, but he cannot hurt me. He is continuing to march forward.
Yeah.
Taking anything that Caleb can throw. Caleb is still sticking that left hand out, and David just hit his wrist with a punch just to get it out of his face.
Mm-hmm. I think that Caleb is really uncomfortable. He's looking really uncomfortable here to me. He has to land something of note to hurt him. And really where I think that he has the best opportunity to hurt David is to the body. David lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
He was really ripped. I don't know if his body has fully recovered here. We all know that David can take a shot. He has to slow him down. I think instead of the poking jab to the body, which is good to create the distance like he just did there, make him back up a few steps, gain a couple seconds. I think a good straight right hand as he's walking in
Yeah.
would might take some air out of the tires. You see that is the punch that David is trying to land. Take note from your opponent. Try and throw the same punch. Plant looks hurt.
Yeah, he does. He does. It's when he was
Because
backing up that he stumbled a little bit.
The chopping right hands are coming over the top. They're unsettling him.
And the other issue is he's letting the distance close.
Yeah.
He's letting David get closer and closer and closer. I agree with you. There needs to be some sort of offense here. He needs to stave him off.
Close because he realizes that he can't keep moving. He doesn't have the energy for that. That's a huge ring.
Okay, what did I say prior to this? After round 2. What did I say after round 2? Can he continue to get on his horse and continue to circle and continue to circle? We're in 7 right now, and he's not moving as well.
Yeah. He's looking all kinds of uncomfortable right now.
He looks tired, bro. He looks tired.
Definitely.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Carlos says he's clinching way too much now. I agree with that. Tell you, he's getting hit, man. It was only a matter of time before David found the range.
Well, here's the thing. Caleb started clinching in round 1, which was a terrible sign. So it said to me, that's why I noted to you early, he's going to have to every round open the round with landing something hard on David to let him know you're not about to rough me up.
Right.
I don't have to hold you every time to back you up. I might just punch you straight in the mouth. Right. Mm-hmm. Right now, David is not afraid of getting punched in the mouth. He's like, I'm going to walk through whatever you got. And when a man makes his mind up, you have to put him on his butt or you got to put him out. And I don't know if Caleb.
Is that blood on his left ear?
On Caleb's?
Yes, that's what I thought I saw when he was coming out.
It looks red. I don't know if it's quite, blood.
I'll get to more of your comments in a second, guys, but keep them coming. We are in round 8 here. David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, a very hyped up fight. Mm-hmm. It was billed as must-see. You're getting your money's worth. There have been no knockdowns. We were in round 8. Caleb Plant started strong. David Benavidez, we believe, has won the last 2 rounds and is narrowing it on the scorecards. To give reference, we're about 2:15 into the 8th round. At 2:15, not in, at.
And I don't like the pat on the back that Caleb just gave David. It's giving up respect.
Yep.
I don't like that.
Yep.
You put him in the front headlock, then you tap him on the back, say, we're good, we can break. No, you don't see Andre Ward doing that. You don't really see Floyd doing that. You see these guys holding on. And he just hurt Caleb.
This is bad.
In the clinch.
Yes.
He just hurt Caleb in the clinch, like I said.
Because Caleb thought that Kenny was going to break it up, and he didn't. Yes. He let his guard down.
And he's still hurt.
I'm on mute. What's Kenny saying to David?
Well, he might be hurt. He's hurt. He hit Plant low. He's saying, keep your punches up.
Caleb has respectfully also been hitting David low, and a lot of those went uncalled. David has absolutely found the range and is landing at will. Caleb is, oh boy. David is
that was a big shot.
Hurting Caleb in round 8, and he takes a look up to see how much time is left. Caleb is on wobbly legs.
And
his punches do not have much. His punches have nothing. David is forcing him into a corner. Kenny Bayless is trying to break it up, and he's calling time. Is there a mouthpiece that was out? He's having the doctor check Caleb's eyes with 48 seconds left in round 8. Interesting stoppage.
That is a very interesting
stoppage
to have Caleb
looked up. What the hell was that? If you're hearing anything,
bleeding.
If you're hearing anything on the broadcast, tell me, because I have it on mute.
Yes, I'm listening to it. There was a
Was there a
head.
clash of
They
heads?
clashed heads, which caused a cut
I see it
in
now.
Caleb's eye,
Yeah, I see
and
it
so he
now.
wanted the doctor to look at it.
His nose, or is it in between his eyes, is just gushing.
Yeah,
It's gushing.
I think Caleb is completely unraveling here. He did a thing. He did a thing that let me know that he's unraveling. He danced. He got hit with the left hook, and then he went back to a dancing gesture as if everything was okay. He's not aware. Like he's aware, but he's not aware that he needs to do something
Oh my
different. You understand what I'm
gosh.
saying?
Yeah. I okay. Few points. I can't believe he survived the round because he was on wobbly legs. Secondly, I can't believe Kenny Bayless stopped and took time with round 8. Nasty cut. They're showing the replay right now. It looks like it's like not on his right eye, but a little inside of his right eye, more towards his nose. This is Caleb Plant, where the bleeding is going. And as we have seen with past fights, what's my man's name who took on Joshua Cloudy? There was a fight when Miguel Cotto fought Joshua Cloudy, and there was blood from a very bad cut in the first or second round, I don't remember, where he had to combat having blood in his eyes. The cut looks okay right now until it gets opened again. But here we go to round 9.
Yeah, this is a dangerous place for Caleb because outside of his last fight,
There's
we've
a low
never
blow.
seen Caleb,
There's a low blow. Caleb struck David low.
and you know what? To be honest, that may have been the best thing he could have done to buy himself a
Fair
couple of
point.
more seconds.
Fair point. Caleb's in disbelief. He also had a reaction like, "Are you kidding me?"
Now, if I'm Caleb, I go right back to the body. I go right back to the body if I'm Caleb. I jab, I step my head off the line, and then I land a left hook to the body and come back upstairs. There you go. I like that. You can't show him any apprehension that you're scared to go back to that place. But Caleb has got to get back control of this fight. I mean, he's starting off good landing combinations, but David knows now that he can get the range. He knows that he's stronger than Caleb, and he knows that he can hurt him. This is a very dangerous place. This round for me is probably make or break. If David continues to hurt and bust Caleb up, that was a good combination by Caleb. But if he continues to bust him up, he's not going to pay him any respect for the rest of the fight.
Good combination. Not much that landed behind David Benavidez's card, but it's the most flurry of punches that we have seen attempted by Caleb in many rounds.
Yeah.
So it's good at least to see some sort of life. But the distance, no longer there. Being able to stick your glove out and have some sort of distance, no longer there. David is breaking Caleb down. He is throwing to the body. He is connecting at will to the head. I haven't seen anything to say that Caleb can hurt David. David is coming in with his hands down. He's taunting him. He knows he's in full control here. And the blood is now streaming once again inside of, again, not inside, but just to the side of Caleb Plant's right eye. He's pawing at it.
Yeah, Caleb has got to box extremely sharp here. I mean, listen, if I'm being objective, not necessarily a bad round by Caleb, just a really good round by David, right? They're both doing things. They're both doing things that lend to their strength. It's just that David has a full head of steam, and again, he's that car going downhill right now. And Caleb, if he can't hurt him to gain respect, it's not going to be the distance. It's not going to be the boxing. This fight's going to be over really soon.
David nearly ended the fight with an uppercut. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I did.
He just missed. That can be there next round and the round after if he wants to. Carlos's Plant's face is not looking good. No, it is not at all. It is not at all. His face is completely beaten, whereas David's looked like he just stepped in the ring.
Yeah.
There's about 10 seconds left in round 9, guys.
And that's because Caleb never punched with intention from round 1. He never punched with the intention of, I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to bust you up, I'm getting respect with these punches. He went back to the fight that he fought against against Canelo. Now you notice that back leg that you see, he landed that David landed a left hook,
Yep.
and Caleb's back leg lifted off the ground.
Yes. So
that's not a great sign whatsoever. He's not in control of his body right now. They're trying to get him back in control in that corner, and I just don't think they're going to have enough time.
These are thunderous shots that David is landing. Darmore85, thank you for joining the stream. Darmore85 asks, who is up on the cards? We're going into 9 right now, right?
Yeah.
We're going into 9, and I believe we had it 4-1. Was it 3-1 or 4-1 through 5, I believe?
This is right now, I would say it's 4-4 going into 8.
I agree.
I had it 4.
Going into 9.
I had it 4-3. Yeah, going into 9, I have it 4-4.
Yep, I agree.
With David doing what David does, man, coming on really strong late in these fights. And Caleb doesn't have the kind of style that's going to get the respect that he needs.
Agreed.
Starting off backing up, he needs to start off landing something of note. He's not doing it.
What I've noticed is he wants to get off first, but then he just sort of goes into a shell. I don't know if that's necessarily him being tired, the punches from David wearing him down, or a combination of the two. But Caleb will throw, and then he'll just back up. He'll get off first, and then he'll let David throw. How about throwing in a jab in there just to screw off his timing a little bit? But David is just coming forward, bull in a china shop mentality, just continually coming forward. Right about 2:08 in round 10, guys.
Yeah, Caleb is standing still a little bit too much, and I get why he's doing it. He's trying to gain some respect. But David Benavidez he's just the Mexican monster right now. He's gone into Mexican monster mode, and it seems like it's too much.
I agree.
Kenny Bayless is
way
not
too
coming
much
to save him.
I can't believe I'm going to ask this. By the way, our math is bad, so obviously we have it 5-4, not 4-4. I'm curious. You can't throw in the towel, right?
No,
you cannot
no.
with Caleb. You got to let him finish.
Yeah, I mean, you don't throw in the towel just yet, but you keep an eye on him.
Oh boy,
because he's about to.
Oh boy.
He's unraveling.
Oh boy. Caleb is leaning against David, and David is landing hook after hook after hook after hook. In that position, where one guy has a better position offensively, that should not happen. And David is outboxing him. Oh, these are thunderous shots, and Caleb's taking
that body shot hurt Caleb.
Yes,
he's frozen. Another body shot hurt him. Now this is where you keep an eye on him, and you start considering throwing in the towel. He's fighting his ass off, but you might need to save him. He's pushing Kenny Bayless out of the way whenever Kenny Bayless breaks him up because he wants to get back in there, but this is not looking good.
And you know what? David doesn't even look tired. David is throwing and throwing and throwing. He is not letting up at all.
Yeah, this is where you stop it. I would stop it here. I would stop it in between rounds. Caleb doesn't have what it takes. His legs are wobbly. He's going to get hurt.
Open mouth breathing. He is exhausted.
Yeah. And this is what David does. This is his game. It was a good fight, valiant effort. You did what you needed to do in the first few rounds. If I'm Caleb's corner, if I'm Breadman, I stop this.
We are going into...
That might be controversial, but I stop it.
But you know what? The thing is, it could potentially provide the casuals some fodder. To us, I don't disagree. I would want Caleb to be better instead of taking potentially 3 more minutes of punishment or getting knocked the hell out by David. I would rather, seeing how downhill this fight has gone since round 6, save him. I would rather save him. I would preserve the human body over having him potentially go through 6 more minutes of punishment where David is absolutely going to try and finish it. He doesn't want it to go to the scorecards. Considering what led up to this, he's going to go for the knockout here.
I wonder if Caleb told his corner something about stopping this fight, like let me finish, let me go out on my shield, something like that before this thing got started.
Right.
Because if you're a trainer with a heart, you realize your fighter is losing gas by the leader every round
Yep.
and every punch that's landed, and it doesn't seem like he has the power to turn this around. You want to show some mercy. You don't want him to get completely ruined.
We're in round 11. About 30 seconds have gone by since late round 5, round 6. It was Caleb until it wasn't. And David Benavidez's power, his precision, his stalking, his prey mentality has just unraveled Caleb Plant. Mimi asks who won. The fight is not over. We're in round 5. Though David,
you had a 6-4 going into
Yes.
this round. You had a 6-4.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And that left hook is the same left hook that did him in the Canelo fight. Look at Caleb's legs. His legs are done.
I'm looking at his
Throw in
legs
the
and his
towel.
face. I'm looking at his legs and his face.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
neither
the
of them are
face,
encouraging.
blood is blood, Mr. Rick, and we know that. He could just have a bad cut that they can't get closed in the corner. I'm looking at his legs. He's all over the place. One, he's not boxing the way that he was earlier. He has no power on those punches because the
Right.
power comes from your legs.
Right.
And anytime he hit, his legs wobble. Stop this fight.
So we're in round 11. There's about a minute 20 left. And David Benavidez is now landing the jab at will, snapping Caleb Plant's hand back, throwing a right hook, snapping Caleb Plant's head back. In the clinch, uppercut after uppercut after uppercut. The crowd is on their feet. Caleb is backing up, just trying to buy time and just have any sort of air whatsoever. I mean, it's very apparent. Caleb does not have a lot left, and this is for a tremendous fighter, a very talented, skillful person who has a ton of tools in the toolbox, but the power puncher is getting the better of the finesse style boxer here. And we have called for this fight to be stopped for about a round and a half now, and it hasn't. Caleb Plant has not thrown a punch in about the last 50 seconds.
Yeah, he's just getting teed off on in the clinch. I don't know why. I mean, I understand why he wants to stay there, because conventionally in other fights, he's been able to slow the fight down in that clinch. David has never accepted the clinch. He's never accepted it from round 1.
Oh my.
So, and he's in this, the trouble for him started. Oh my God. That was a powerful,
you saw the right hook, right?
Just landed. I mean, listen, they're going into round 12. I guess you don't stop it now, right? You let him see what he has, but you let him go out like a man.
Let me ask you a question. Can Caleb's best punch here that he has in the fight hurt David?
No, he never hurt David.
Then I would. I know you want to let him finish. I don't think anybody has said that Caleb is soft or that he doesn't have heart. We already know that. It's a badge of honor to finish, but it's also the safer play to not let him suffer more punishment.
Yeah.
It just is. There's no argument for it.
And see now, rangefinder is now working in David's benefit.
Yep.
Caleb's rangefinder is letting David know when I should throw my punches.
We're in round 12, y'all. Caleb Plant has 2 minutes and 50 seconds to, if I'm being brutally honest, survive.
Yeah.
This has been all David Benavidez since round 6. All David Benavidez. It started heating up in round 3. David took over in round 6. He has landed hard shots on Caleb Plant. He has hurt Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant suffered a very bad cut in round 8. There was somewhat of a controversial stoppage of the action by Kenny Bayless. David Benavidez continued teeing off on Caleb Plant. And as Britton has said, in the clinch, David has won the fight. That's where he has landed the bigger shots, the thumpier shots, the heavier shots. And Caleb just had a moment here in the clinch where David kept throwing. Caleb looked to Kenny Bayless, and then David threw again.
Yeah. I mean, the clinch has been a false positive, what I would say, a false sense of security for Caleb the entire fight. Because I remember noting to you, Caleb tied him up, and David pushed him off, and it got a little rough. Starting from round one, the trouble for him, in my eyes, started when he got clipped after he, got comfortable in the clinch. He thought Kenny Bayless was going to come and break it up. It's not been a safe place for him the entire fight, and he never picked up on that. And that is a sign of, his lack of reading the story of the fight properly.
Respectfully, since round 5-ish, has there really been a safe place for Caleb Plant? No place in this ring that he requested
his corner,
the size
sitting down in front of his coach.
Say again?
In the corner, sitting down in front of his coach in between rounds.
55 seconds, guys, for Caleb Plant to survive.
Yeah.
For him to see and hear the final bell. David Benavidez in the post-fight press conference will have some scratches. But to our vantage point from the broadcast, there just really ain't much. There is not much damage to show for on his face. Whereas Caleb Plant's looks like he has been destroyed. 20 seconds, guys. 20 seconds.
20 seconds. 20 seconds that Caleb earned.
Yes, I agree with that. Caleb has shown us a lot.
Yeah.
He was hurt many times in this fight. And now he is going to finish, which after round 8, we thought was the unthinkable. So we see the final bell. Plant and Benavidez hug. They have some words for each other. Nothing bad. It's all kosher. I got to be honest. I don't know if Caleb knows where he is.
Now listen.
It looked like he was talking, but it also looked like his eyes were going in a different place. So we now go to the cards.
Now listen, don't be surprised if Caleb won that last round, which in my estimation would make this fight 7-5 in favor of David Benavidez.
Yep.
But the rounds, the rounds were obvious, right? The rounds that Caleb won. The rounds that David won, and David won more of them. That was a great fight.
It was a good fight. It was entertaining. It was rough. And
yeah, it got rough at times.
It got really rough at times. But here we are. All right, a few of your comments. Frank Castle says scorecard is going to be unanimous for David. We respectfully disagree with that, but value your opinion. Run Rafa Run says that that UConn game was domination. Yeah, it was boring, honestly. Gonzaga got blown out of the building. Tyler, going into round 12, agreed with us that the fight probably should have been stopped. I give Caleb a ton of credit. Who do you guys have? Who do you guys have? Who do you have winning? That's what we want to know. Leave us all the comments. Run Rafa Run also says Connor is coming back. Is that true?
Yeah, Connor has a fight coming
against
up.
Michael Chandler. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, so it was just more of like a hey, did you know? I was like, huh? Is there Connor Ben? Oh, is the Pacquiao fight done? Carlos says, if this is scored like Valenzuela versus Colbert fight, oh my God.
Nah. This was way more definitive than that. I mean, well, you know what? I can't even honestly say that.
True.
I thought Venezuela obviously won that last
fight. Yes, I believe we all agree with you there. All right.
We got a unanimous decision.
Again, I'm on mute, so if you want to read them out for us.
115, 113.
Mm-hmm.
116, 112.
Mm-hmm.
117, 111. All in favor of David.
The right decision.
The right decision. the right decision, and
Without a doubt.
I'm happy that they embrace after this.
Absolutely. So David Benavidez, in a unanimous decision, has defeated Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant now suffers his second loss. And we now ask the question, when do we possibly see David Benavidez fight Canelo Alvarez? In my opinion, they don't.
Once I agree with you. Put a pin in it. I want to hear the interview, and I'll give you a summation of what he said.
Yeah, go for it. You want to tell us what he's saying?
He's shouting out Caleb. He said, "I know I said that the beef was going to last, but we fought like warriors, and it's over." I'm happy we gave the fans the best rivalry of the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Lennon Jr. says there's a lot of holding in this fight.
Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Sorry. What's my man's name? The commentator?
Jim Gray?
Jim Gray. Sorry.
Wow, the outspoken Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Oh, not Jimmy Lennon. Sorry. Jim Gray opens up his interview with, there was a lot of holding in this fight. David says he's happy with his performance. He's surprised that Caleb stood on his feet. He said, "I would talk shit, but I like this guy now." And it seems like Jim Gray is really in the stirring the pot, as he says. Caleb got him under your skin before the fight.
Very, very direct, edgy questions is Jim Gray's career.
He says he's the guy at 168. He has a lot of respect for Canelo, but Canelo has to see him now. Let's make it happen this September. He said Canelo's not avoiding him. He has a lot of options, but now he has to see him.
All right, so that was the Jim Gray interview with David Benavidez. Here's Caleb. You want to tell us what he's saying?
A hell of a fighter. He settled it like man. Jim Gray says, your strategy to hold and stop the action wasn't successful. Jim Gray is really upset about the holding.
Fork-tailed Devil P38J says, other channel I was just watching said it was a robbery.
Nah.
What?
Nah.
What? How? Who said it was a robbery?
His ear does look very swollen.
It does.
Yeah, something's going on with that ear, that left ear.
Told you. It looked damaged.
Yeah. You know, when you get punched in the ear, it throws your equilibrium off, too. So, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the fight that many people wanted to see, and at the same time, a fight that many others were surprised that Caleb took. He was up to the task, fought his heart out, and the better man won tonight. A few of your comments. Frank Castle says cauliflower ear.
Yeah.
Could be. Boxing gems is what Forktail said. I'm not familiar with them. Respect to them though, because they're streaming on a late Saturday night. So props to them.
Who is this?
They said boxing gems had plant winning big. Had plant winning big.
No. That fight was 7-5 in favor of David Benavidez.
Yep. Boxing gyms.
Respect to those guys. You know what I mean? Boxing is sometimes objective, but
yep.
Caleb, he let David. He never recovered from that. He never recovered from that hook that he received coming out of the clinch. I don't know what round it was, maybe like 6 or 7. He never recovered from that.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I'm not sure how you could have Caleb winning after the beatdown that we saw. We gave it a rough 7-5, and that feels fair. A few more of your comments. Forktail is the Jim Gray of the comments section.
What does he say?
He's stirring. I'm just kidding. He said boxing gems had plant winning like 8 rounds. I can't see it.
Nah.
I can't see
it. That didn't happen. That fight didn't happen.
Nope.
Sorry.
Ditto, spelled with the number 1 and a 0 at the end, said fighting like this, you can't beat Bivol, but maybe lose a close fight against Canelo.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I didn't even think about Bivol because the fight that we all want to see is Canelo. So you said it's not going to happen. Why won't it happen, Mr. Britt?
If I'm Canelo, I don't fight David Benavidez.
I agree.
For what? You know, at this point, Canelo has nothing to prove, and he's positioned himself as someone who I pick my own fights, and I'm here to make, the biggest money fights.
Yeah.
Fighting David Benavidez is a very dangerous fight for him. It's a very, very dangerous fight for him. And there's no upside to fighting David Benavidez, right?
I agree, man.
If I'm Canelo, honestly, I probably retire.
You think he retires? Not yet.
Listen, I'm not hearing good things out of the Canelo camp. I have some people very close to the Canelo camp, and I'm hearing that Canelo's breaking down. He's been in the sport a very long time.
I was just gonna say
he's been a pro since I think he was 14 or 15 years old. You got to consider not just the fights, which may have seemed easy for him, but all of the ring wars in training camps that break fighters down that we never get to see, all the road work. And Canelo went on quite a tear in between, I believe it was 2020 and 2021, on a very consistent schedule that I think took something out of him. And
say that last part one more time.
I said he went on a run in between 2020 and 2021 to unify 168 pounds.
Yep.
He was very consistent in his fights, 4 months in between one another at some point, at different points at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that his body is just kind of breaking down, right? He looked really weird in the Golovkin fight to me. A shell of himself. He didn't seem like he could, he didn't have the firepower, albeit against a stronger, bigger person against Bivol. And I just think that this is, again, a step too far for Canelo at this stage in his career.
To
I
fight
mean,
to fight David.
to fight David.
Yes, I agree with that. I think what we saw was, first off, on our show Outboxed, available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. What I've noticed is, and the bar that I set for myself when I'm watching these guys fight, especially when it's somebody like Caleb Plant, is how do they come back after suffering a loss the way they did, in the fashion that they did when Caleb lost to Canelo? He came back, he looked okay. I personally viewed this, and we talked about this, was I don't think anybody can beat David at this stage in the game of his career, David's career. I think what we will see is, much like many other big, monstrous power punchers, the shelf life is not there. Unfortunately, someone has to face him. And Caleb, heart of a warrior, was that guy.
Yeah.
I don't think Canelo should fight David Benavidez. I think
But
it
why?
would spell a ton of trouble for Canelo Alvarez. Well, first off, if he does anything like the strategy that he had against Bivol, who was the bigger guy against him, he's going to get wrecked in the same fashion, potentially even go down and get knocked out because of what David Benavidez has, which is we've seen it in every fight, every single fight. And I will say, with a confident and motivated David Benavidez, not the David who has been stripped 2 times, not the David when he came in way overweight and couldn't make weight. As you said before the fight even came to place, he weighed less than Caleb Plant. What that showed me was motivation and dedication. If he were to fight Canelo, that would be the fight of his life. Sorry, my voice is giving out. He would get paid the most that he's ever got paid. He would pummel Canelo Alvarez. The wars that Canelo has been in, the punishment that he has taken, the amount of fights that he has had, the Golovkin trilogy, where I got to be honest, and we've talked about this, I didn't think that he won as many as he did in that trilogy. I also didn't think that he won the Arislandi Lara fight. So it's not like he has been unblemished. The Mayweather fight, he was too young. He was unpolished, too young.
Yeah.
Where he is now at 32, I agree with you. He is a seasoned 32. There's no reason for him to take this fight other than way too much pride. Way too much pride. And he just wants to show that he can do it, which I don't think he can, truly.
This is again a step too far to ask Canelo Alvarez, who's given the sport so much, to fight a surging David Benavidez, who is just about 10 years younger than him. Maybe like 8 or 9 years younger than him. Canelo Alvarez, 33 or
32.
32 years old. 32 seems like, a very capable time frame, time for a person to fight. But you got to consider Canelo turning pro at 13, 14 years old. He soaked up a lot of punishment. And this fight is a recipe for disaster. He's 5'8". He would have no choice but to come forward against David Benavidez. The elixir to Canelo's pressure and power boxing style is a strong, stiff jab, which David Benavidez will have a field day landing on Canelo. Canelo at 168 pounds isn't the combination puncher that he used to be at 154 pounds and even a little bit at 160. He's more of a pressure. I'm going to come forward. I'm going to break you down. I'm going to take a few jabs to land a big left hook or two. And then eventually by 8, 9, 10, he's broken these bigger men down. He's not gonna have the opportunity or the spots to do that against someone like David Benavidez, who won again, like I said, will keep him on the outside with a nice stiff jab, be snapping his head back all day long. And then David will probably open up with his own combinations on Canelo. And if Canelo tries to take it on the inside, it'll look just like it does with everyone else, including Caleb Plant on the inside, where David just doesn't accept the clinch and he's beating these men up. Not a good fight for Canelo. I don't think he should take it. I don't think that he will take it. I'm sure he'll fight Ryder, and he'll probably fare better.
May 6th is that fight.
May 6th?
Yep.
I'm going to say something that is going to be a little shocking, because prior to this fight, I said Canelo Alvarez. One, I a long time ago said that Canelo doesn't have any soft place to land between 68 and 75. He doesn't have any soft place to land. Mm-hmm. The softest landing place that he has at 68 is the fight that he has coming up against Ryder. Maybe Jamal Charlo, if he gets him coming off of this long layoff, right?
Yes.
But people are going to want to see him fight David Benavidez. He's not going to have any place to hide. So I would rather see him, and again, shocking even for me to say, I would rather see him take the Bivol rematch. Because
really,
before this, you know it. I was not a fan of him taking the rematch against Bivol because I don't think that he beats him.
I agree.
I think he takes less of a beating against Bivol, especially if he can get Bivol to go down to 168 and fight him like Bivol has been saying that he would.
Right.
He'll take less of a beating than he would against Caleb Plant's not going to be the same after this. You go back and you look at any opponent who fought David Benavidez in the past, they're not the same after they fight David Benavidez.
Yep.
You fight David Benavidez when there's a reward for it. This is an exchanging of the torch fight if Canelo takes it. There's no upside to it for Canelo. He has nothing to gain. And he's already proven that he's a man, that he'll take any fight, that he'll fight anybody. He's already proven those things. So he doesn't have to reprove it in my eyes.
Right.
Canelo Alvarez, I think Canelo Alvarez should take this fight. And if he's dead set on having another one, fight Bivol, try and get him down at 68. And if he loses, he retires.
All right. So I agree with you. To be honest, I didn't really think about, was the Dimitri Bivol rematch the next best option? If you're looking at 168, that probably is. Quite honestly, that probably is. Unless he were to go up to 175 and face somebody else, but even then,
dangerous, man.
Dangerous.
He's never
real quick.
Mm-hmm.
All this rumbling before the Bivol fight. Who did they say he was going to take on next at 175?
Better be.
Yeah, that's out the window. You can't fight him.
And he shouldn't.
He shouldn't. I don't like him against any of those guys.
No.
All of them are dangerous. I agree with what you said. We might be seeing the end, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Triple G trilogy. You got John Ryder. Those are, if we're being brutally honest here, the easier fights that you could take. Bivol at 168. Bivol wants the money. And to say that he beat Canelo twice, there actually is a lot of incentive for him. Does he have to take it? No. But there is incentive. Comments.
In your mind, you think that there is incentive?
Yes, I do. I think there is incentive because he could be the only person to beat Canelo Alvarez twice, and also the second time on Canelo's terms. He doesn't have to do it.
Oh, you're saying that there's incentive for him to fight, for Canelo to fight Bivol.
For Bivol to fight Canelo, so he could shut up. So he could shut up everybody. Anybody who's like, oh, well, you didn't fight him in his way. You didn't fight him in his best way. The only time he fought at 175 was against an aging Sergey Kovalev. Okay, well, you know what? F you. I'm going to go down and I'm going to beat him in his own backyard at his own weight class. That's the only thing that I could see on the part of Bivol. All right, there's so many comments that I got to read here.
Go ahead, do it.
Okay. Let's see. I'm looking forward to the Staniosis Virgil Ortiz fight, says Carlos. That's in late April.
Mm-hmm. It's a good fight.
Let's see. Air Antiez says 8. That's another fight. As for them giving Caleb Plant 8 rounds. Blackjack says, will you do a Logan Paul match? I literally can't believe I just read that. He'll read anything that's on the teleprompter. Let's see. Run Rafa Run says not enough time in the year to fight anyone else. It's March. Let's see. What do you think about? Let's see. Blues Forever. Blues _ Fever. Excuse me. Says great fight. Plant held up even when he looked like he was going down. Benavidez versus Canelo in September has to happen. We would love for it to happen. It just won't.
Just won't.
It just won't.
Yeah, I agree.
Run Rafa Run sarcastically says, so Canelo won't even make it to the next World Cup year? Technically he will. He fights John Ryder in May. But after that, who knows? Frank says there's no comeback for Canelo. The next best thing is Garcia versus Davis and Garcia versus David. Am I missing something?
Garcia versus David.
I think maybe he's just emphasizing it twice.
Got you. Copy.
All right, here we go. Here's the chaos that I was looking for. Centurion to you, Britain. Canelo has more of a chance against Benavidez than Bivol.
Okay, we disagree.
I disagree with that because I think Bivol will go down to his weight and let him last.
Right.
There's a better chance of a decision.
Yeah. Benavidez, Bivol fights. Bivol's natural. Okay. Who was this?
Centurion.
This is where I disagree with you. Bivol's natural disposition is that of a boxer, a point boxer at that. He doesn't box to knock people out. He boxes to outpoint you. He boxes to disarm you, take away what you're good at, and not expose, but just kind of highlight his strengths.
21 fights, 11 knockouts.
Benavidez, on the other hand, his natural disposition is that of a mauling, brawling fighter with power, combination, and speed. Two different mindsets here.
Yeah.
Right? You got someone who enjoys hurting people, likes to see blood, likes to hear bones crack, likes to break men. Bivol isn't that he isn't that twisted, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a fight where, Benavidez knows this is a king-making fight for me. And if he beats Canelo Alvarez, there is conceivably no one at 168 pounds who can beat him. So, we can agree to disagree, but that is my reasoning why I think that Canelo Alvarez's best shot at, another fight after Ryder is probably that Bivol fight.
I agree. It's just less scary. There's less of a long-term risk against Bivol, and he was hurt in that Bivol fight. But the way that if we just had a threshold of how much David Benavidez can hurt you in comparison to how much Dimitri Bivol can hurt you, if you're a supreme upper echelon A to A plus fighter, you don't want to take the punishment from David Benavidez on any day.
You're not the same after a fight with him.
Exactly. Carlos asks, why won't we see Bivol against Beterbiev?
It's a good chance we do. And I think that the worst case scenario for Canelo is that talks intensify between Bivol and Beterbiev. Because if they do, then that leaves Canelo without a dance partner after Ryder and a lot of questions to ask. Because you already know the question is going to arise after Ryder. Will you fight David Benavidez? Well, maybe because the fight's going to be on DAZN, maybe they angle it towards the Bivol rematch. We never know.
Yep.
But if they're objective, they give him the option of, so we just saw David Benavidez destroy Caleb Plant, and we know that the Dimitri Bivol fight is still looming out there. What do you want to do, champ?
Mm-hmm.
And if the Bivol option is removed from the table in September is open. Hey, Canelo, what you gonna do?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Very, very dangerous spot for him to be in. So he doesn't have the leverage in the sport that he used to have after the past two performances.
I agree with
And
that.
Gennady Golovkin actually saved him.
I agree with that as well. Yes. This is via Sports Illustrated. After Artur Beterbiev defeated Anthony Yarde, Beterbiev said, quote, "I want Bivol. Right now it's everything. In that fight, we'll have 4 belts. It's a really good fight, I think." In a statement to Sports Illustrated, Bivol's promoter says Dimitri is eager for the fight. Quote, "This is becoming one of the biggest fights that can happen in boxing. They have cleaned out the division between the two of them, and there's not many more intriguing matchups out there. Let's make it happen." We just don't know if it will. Beterbiev, being a Muslim, will observe Ramadan between mid-March and mid-April, so there's not going to be much movement there. There can obviously be negotiations, but we don't know if it'll take place. Obviously, for boxing fans, we would love to see it take place. More of your comments here. Who got the lighter? It's A+ username. Saul beats John Ryder and goes for Benavidez to get lucky 60. We just don't see it, man.
Yeah.
We just don't see it.
I don't see that. I just don't see it. I would love to see it, but I do not see Canelo Alvarez committing that type of career suicide.
I agree.
And you know, I have the utmost respect for Saul. It's a tall task. It's a tall task to fight someone 8 years your junior who doesn't know how to lose. And in every category, you're at a deficit in height, in reach, in speed, maybe not in power on one punch, like one punch exchanges. But in order for Canelo to land that one big left hook, and at this point, we know Canelo's game. He's going to plot forward. He's going to have to take a couple of jabs just to get close. And he's going to try and, get Benavidez in 50-50 exchanges. But even the 50-50 exchanges are tricky for Canelo.
Yep.
So it would have to be a lucky 60. It would have to be he cracks Benavidez early with a big left hook and doesn't sustain too much damage, and Benavidez just doesn't recover for the rest of the fight or something like that. But I just don't see it.
I just don't see it.
I don't see it.
Smoke and mirrors. This from Bleacher Report. This was just posted. 5 best fights for David Benavidez after the win against Caleb Plant. You ready?
Let's go.
Canelo Alvarez, David Morrell, Jermall Charlo, Boo Boo Andrade, 175. Of those, if you were promoting, which one would you pick? I mean, like, obviously Canelo, but let's just say Canelo doesn't do it. Because we're in agreement that we don't think he will.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, not Jermall, because I think that is just cruel, even on the behalf of promoters, to throw Jermall to David Benavidez after the layoff that he's had. He needs at least a fight or two at 168 pounds.
Yep.
He needs time to lose all the weight. I'm hearing that he's walking around at about 200 plus pounds. So he needs time to comfortably to get all that weight off. So yeah, not Jermall. David Morrell possibly. Yeah. Like I don't mind that fight because Morrell's a monster himself. He's a beast. He's been knocking people out. He has concussive power. He has boxing ability. He's just as tall. That will be I think that is an amazing summit meeting. David Morrell hasn't had the exposure that David Benavidez has had, but real ones know. Real ones know David Morrell is nothing to play with. And so I think that's probably the most intriguing fight. But probably what will end up happening is Boo Boo Andrade. if not some kind of mandatory.
Right.
And that sucks for Boo Boo.
I mean, for us though, Boo Boo is a show favorite. We appreciate what Boo Boo does. Benavidez is too much, but I mean, if he's up for it, I guess we'll watch it. All right, a few more.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, according to Boo Boo, he was offered David Benavidez his first fight with PBC. He obviously said, not my first fight, but I'm down to fight him. Jamal Charlo kind of talked the same game at the weigh-in yesterday. He commentated the weigh-in. He said, yeah, whoever wins this fight, I'm stepping up and I'm fighting him. I think he changed his mind. I think he changes his tune, and he probably runs to make that Boo Boo Andre fight now.
Probably. Boo Boo's 35 already, man.
Yeah, so I think that both of those guys fight at 168, one more fight, and then they probably fight one another. David Morrell is out there. I don't think David Morrell ducks Benavidez. But I just think
I agree with that too.
They'll probably try and milk that fight a little bit longer, like they did this one with Caleb.
Yeah, probably. Forktail asked, what was our scorecards? We had it roughly 7-5, though we admittedly did not start scoring till 4 or 5, I want to say. Somewhere around there. Yeah. All right, a few more. Let's see. Fork says I would avoid Bivol. Again, when we're talking about what Canelo can do next, and can we narrow it down if we were promoting him to what is the fight that would potentially leave him with the least amount of damage and is the safest for longevity in boxing and also life? We think it's Bivol.
Yeah.
Because of the lack of punching power. Yeah. I have said this many times. If David is motivated, nobody's beating him. At this stage, I'm not saying down the line. I'm saying we're in March, going into April 2023. As of right now, nobody's beating a motivated David.
Yeah. Can I say, in addition to what you said, everything you said, plus, when you're a promoter, especially there are two kinds of promoters. There's a promoter that wants to changing of the guard for their senior roster fighter, right? And then there's the cash out. Then there's the cash out promoter, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm Canelo's promoter at this point in the game, what I'm looking to do is send him off sailing with a bag and protecting his image, and I'm taking a bag. What I mean by that is he fights Bivol, possibly at 168 pounds. Maybe he has to do it at 75 again. It gives him a graceful bow out. Imagine this. He fights Bivol. He fights valiantly. He loses 8-4, 7-5 like he did last time. Mm-hmm. At the end of the fight, you got somebody asking Canelo what he wants to do next. Canelo's in tears, and he says, listen, I've given the sport my all. I tried to avenge this loss for all of my fans. I just don't have it anymore. And I would like to take this opportunity to gracefully and humbly bow out of the sport. It's been lovely. I love you guys. I did it for you. Viva Mexico. That's beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. Now imagine he fights David Benavidez.
Wow.
Imagine
I don't know if there are words being uttered into the microphone.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. The kind of punishment that a much older Canelo Alvarez, who sustained the damage that he has at this point in his career, broken orbital bone, cauliflower ear, possibly broken jaw, definitely a few cuts, all over his face, and ultimately the same result, retiring. I have a heart for fighters. Yep. I'd rather see the former than the latter.
He is 32. I'm looking up his birthday just to play around with when it could potentially happen. He would be 33 years old at that point. Mm-hmm. If he were to fight David Benavidez, mm-hmm. who is 6 years younger than him. So
6, okay.
It's a no. It's a no. Blues Fever asks, Rick, are y'all going to do a watch along for Garcia Davis? I mean, shit, we have to now.
As long as is he promising to show up? You promised to show up. We here, baby.
There it is. I mean, he should. They all should. All right. Any closing thoughts here, Mr. Britt, before we sign off?
David Benavidez is surging. He looks unstoppable. He looked amazing. He looked like he was in, for the most part, in control of the fight from round one. He knows how to expose the places where he pointed this out. Mm-hmm. He said, I've been watching what Caleb does good, and I also see what he does bad. He was clearly an amazing scout of Caleb Plant, and he's also a thinking fighter and knows how to adjust on the fly. Mm-hmm. I think he's surging. I think that it's a hard proposition for anybody to beat him at 168 pounds. I know that the convenient and most popular request and demand is going to be for him to fight Canelo, but I think his true test is going to come against somebody just as tall, just as rangy, has good power in a David Morrell. I don't think that we will get that Canelo fight. Actually, I hope that we don't. And I think that Caleb Plant fought his heart out and his ass off. Yes. I think that he fought to the greatest, of his capability. I commend him for that. And we haven't talked about what he does next. And that might be a whole nother episode, a whole nother show. But I think he's staring down the barrel of retirement as well.
I agree. Unfortunately, I agree. It's a rough sport. We've talked about this plenty of times. When it is a individualistic style of a sport, it's tough. You can have coaching from your box in tennis. You can see guys in the UFC who try to last, but then the losses just start compiling. Mm-hmm. Boxing is one of those where you can be saved by your corner, but you cannot tap for someone else to come in and help you out. I unfortunately think you're right about Caleb Plant, that this could potentially be the end. I don't think it will be, because I think he's still a household name and people will want to see how he bounces back. He could take a few winnable fights here and there, potentially get his name back at the top of the division as a contender. But that could potentially lead for us to see something like this once again. For David Benavidez, I have said this a few times. I will harken back to, if he makes weight and if he shows that he is laser focused, the man will not lose at this stage. A power puncher, a come forward fighter like that, their body does break down in time. It's just that time is not now. So who fights him next? Not totally sure. Would I love to see him move up in weight and take on guys that are his size and fight a guy that's his own size? Hell yeah, I would. I think that is where we would learn more about David Benavidez than beating up on the smaller guys in the division. Mm-hmm. He's a monster in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thank everybody for watching with us, for commenting. Blues also said he's going to show up for the Garcia Davis stream.
My boy.
So there is your answer. And yeah, we're going to have a good time with this. Mr. Britt, appreciate you. Love you. Be good.
My man.
All right, y'all. Have a good rest of your Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is. Bye.